Well, welcome to Ravensdale Bible Academy. Today's course is an introduction to marriage, and today's specific lesson or topic is do not let the sun go down in your anger. And so, this is an absolutely essential principle for us, not only in marriage relationships, but as you'll see in the passage, really in any relationship, even if it's your neighbor. And so, let me read Ephesians chapter 4, starting at verse 25, ending at verse 27 for some context. The passage says, "Therefore, laying aside falsehood, speak truth, each one of you, with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down in anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity." Well, what a great exhortation for us to follow. Don't let the sun go down if you're angry. Keep in mind, in a marriage, you're laying next to that person that you're upset with. That person's a couple inches away. You don't want to close your eyes and go to bed and in your anger. Your problems will not go away magically just because you slept for 6 to 8 hours, okay? That you'll wake up, and quite often you'll see that those issues just start up right away in the beginning of the day. So we don't want to go to bed in our anger. One of the misconceptions is that we're going to be able to actually fully, completely resolve our issues before we go to bed. Now that might not be the case. You might not be able to completely fix the problem, but you can make sure that when you go to sleep that you're not at least angry. One of my quick little tests for that is if you can't look at that person and say, you know what, I disagree, we're still working through this, but I love you, right? Well, then you're angry. Because just by being able to say, I love you, and the other person saying, I love you too, we'll work through it, at least you know that the kind of that hot-tempered fire in your belly and in your chest is at least gone away, so it's no longer anger. Well, the passage here says, starts with tell the truth. See, that's one of the issues in marriages. Look, we have to be open and honest. So the idea isn't that you just completely avoid conflict, you completely avoid dealing with issues. No, we need to deal with things. We need to address things. We need to bring things up, raise concerns, disagree, hold each other accountable, bear one another's burdens. We need to do these things. When we do that, it may create conflict, or maybe there's a situation that's, from the outside coming in, and you're angry about that. And so it begins by telling the truth. You address the issue honestly. And so start off by being honest, but that doesn't mean that you need to be angry. Anger itself, keep in mind, is not necessarily a sin. We saw Jesus get hot in the temple in John 2, verses 13 through 15. We know Jesus did not sin, and yet he was angry with people in the temple who had abused the sanctuary of God for profit. And so that angered him. It was a righteous anger, and sin should anger us, and that should spark our attention. And so, but we don't want to be angry at that person. One of the other principles that we learn is in James 1:19 that says, be slow to speak and slow to anger. Be quick to listen. And so the only way that we're actually really listening in this discussion is if we're slow. We're slow to speak. We always want to defend ourselves. We want to argue. We want to spew out, our view. And so, you know what? Be slow to speak. Be slow to anger. Don't allow yourself to get angry. So one of the ways we can, not go to bed angry is, well, don't let yourself get there in the first place, right? And so guard it, and follow the biblical principle of being slow to speak. Finally, Galatians 6:1 gives us a great principle and supporting verse for this. It says, even if you catch somebody in sin, if you catch them in trespass, confront them, address that in gentleness, restore them in gentleness. And so if you're in conflict and there's a problem and you're angry and upset, well, if you go into that situation slow to speak, if you go into that situation quick to hear, if you go into that situation with a spirit of gentleness, well, again, the likelihood that your anger is this like raging fire anger versus, being irked. And if it's raging fire, well, then it's harder to kind of cool off than, okay, well, I'm still coming in this situation. I haven't totally exploded. And so this is a great principle that we definitely want to lay the groundwork for in an introduction to biblical marriage. Do not let the sun go down in your anger.